1.
I'm back in the room.
Yeah, Dave, let's have a little look. I'll tell you what I'll do.
People go trekking who have questions about trekking. 2 people who go trekking are here to answer your questions about trekking. Introducing the Tuesday Tune-In, hosted by Andy and Dave.
Are we live? No.
As far as we know, it's live.
Let's check if we're live, mate. Let's check if we're live.
Are we live?
Live.
Tackling subjects such as
Talking about good travel,
charities,
altitude,
Flying.
Footwear.
vaccination, fitness.
so you can make an informed decision about trips and go into them as prepared as possible. Years of expertise shrouded in top-level banter. Tune in every Tuesday at 12:30-ish.
Nice. Hey guys, how we doing?
Good day, everybody.
Andy and Dave here. Just sorting out some tech.
I've definitely.
Dave's sorting out some tech.
I'm definitely struggling right now with the logging on.
You keep going, Dave.
Yep.
But yeah, welcome to the Tuesday Tune-In. It's been a few weeks. This is your first one, and to everyone that normally is here, we got Andrew, we got Mark, Carl. How you doing? Drop your comments. Drop your name in the comments. Good to see who's on.
Mm-hmm.
Before we delve into Kilimanjaro and obviously the winner announcement. Now the winner announcement today, if you've been on any of the previous ones that we've done, we will be calling the winner. So keep that phone handy. Hopefully, we've had some that have gone really plain sailing. They picked up. We got some that went to voicemail. We've had some that went a little bit different, but hopefully the person who wins today picks up and we're like, hey, how's it going?
This isn't entirely plain sailing for me right now.
I can see, Dave.
And I suspect that's because the link has changed that I need to use in order to join the stream. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm technically already on the stream, guys, but just so you're aware, I've got, there's a situation going on. I take the sunglasses off. The hair's a bit mental.
Dave, Disney set.
And so that at least covers that up. But then I look weird if I put my spectacles on and I've got 2 sets of sunglasses. So it's quite an issue.
Mate, I think it looks cool.
I'm going to alert Zach to the fact that if he can send me a new link for this login, so I can at least read the comments, that would be marvelous. Because I've tried 3.
Although, Dave, actually, whilst everyone is here, we might have to just crack on because I'm wondering how we do it on, because we got the new format. But anyway, we're going to crack on. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, a lot of people are joining us today for the Kilimanjaro winner announcement. I'll just let you know a little bit about how we're going to do it. So normally we'll do a little bit of an intro as we're doing here. We did play the little trailer as well. Hopefully you got a bit of a feel for about what today is. So these are the Tuesday Tune-Ins. We started these back in 2020.
We did.
Me and Dave have been doing it ever since.
We have.
Which luckily that was close. That was close, Dave.
There's possibly some details on the paper there that we don't want released to the public.
Exactly. Hopefully people won't rewind and see that.
But
they've become kind of a mainstream really of our Evertrekker community, and we show up every week. Obviously, some weeks, like last week, we're on leave, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions about any of the trips, do drop in the comments. Obviously, today we're going to be mainly talking about Kilimanjaro, which myself and Dave have summited. We've helped literally hundreds and hundreds of people summit over the last kind of 4 or 5 years.
We have,
which has been awesome. Any questions, just do drop in. As I said, we'll be talking about Kili. Then about halfway through, we'll probably do the winner announcement. So fingers crossed to everyone, and good luck to everyone that entered. We had over 15,000 entries. So it is very popular, and thanks so much for being a part of it and sharing it. And been seeing loads of people's stuff on social media. So really appreciate you getting involved. It's always a good vibe when it's around competition time. We usually do this kind of 3 or 4 times a year. Obviously, if you win, you get to win a trip to Kilimanjaro, which is awesome. It's a challenge.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
It's definitely a mountain.
It's definitely a mountain.
It's definitely pretty big.
Yeah.
I'm noticing like setup changes now. Like I'm technically still on the holidays.
I know.
But I think we're a little.
Yeah,
It's a bit different, isn't it?
It basically. What we were surprised to learn is that the whole user interface has changed.
Really.
So now Dave's like, "Where's everyone?"
Yeah, no.
So Dave, comments are there, and you're there.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
Camera's there.
hang on. Comments. So yes, I see. Hello, Joe Whiteley, Jane Wade, Kyle Woodhouse. Hello. It's going to be one of them.
That's going to be fine. How about I call out the names then? Although,
Is that
Dave,
right?
I can bring, and this is from Jane herself. Can you see that?
Good luck, everyone. Good
There
luck
we
to
go.
you. Good
Look
luck
at
to
that.
you, Jane. I'm the only person on part of this life who's guaranteed not to win.
Yeah, we always like to have a bit of a laugh. Obviously, altitude and trekking, adventure can be serious, but we always like to. What is it you say? Never let professionalism get in the way of a good joke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Never let
Yeah.
professionalism get in the way of a good blank. So
Okay.
good
Could be
trip,
anything. Could be
good
anything.
live.
Nice.
That type of thing.
Brilliant.
But yeah, no, Kilimanjaro. Where should we start? At the bottom.
Yeah, Killy.
Yeah.
Stuart's on the live. Stuart Haddon, how you doing, mate? Long time no see.
Yep.
The only bar still bouncing at 1 a.m. Brilliant. Amazing. Stuart, I hope life is treating you well. Stuart has been an Evertrekker for a while now. He was on one of our very first. Well, actually, he was on 3 of the first trips.
He's an Ecuador
in
specialist.
Ecuador. Absolutely loved it and got the summit as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
On one of the, was that on Chimborazo?
I think Chimborazo. Yeah.
Chimborazo's
I think it was with Stuart and Chimborazo. I think it's like a
was a
Rocky.
story.
It's a Rocky movie.
It was.
So I think Rocky 1. He put his name on there, but he didn't come out the champ. And then Rocky 2, he goes back and then he gets it.
And he got battered. And
yeah,
then,
exactly.
And then Rocky 3.
Not that all treks are that hard, obviously, but Chimborazo is something of a savage.
It is.
But
Absolute
Kilimanjaro is the biggest freestanding mountain in the world.
It is. Yeah. It's definitely an epic challenge. And Kili, we started running Kili trips back in 2020, and the reason that there's many different routes on Kilimanjaro. Several routes. Some of them a lot shorter. Now we chose a route that was called the Lamosho route. That's the trip that we do. And the reason for that, and the reason we call it Kilimanjaro the long way, is because we, especially at altitude, you don't want to rush. You want to acclimatize. You want to give yourself the best chance of a summit success.
Yeah.
So Lamosho is kind of the one we settled on. There is a longer one called the Northern Circuit. Takes a little bit. You have a little bit higher. You have a little bit more time essentially the camp that's closest to the summit is on the Northern Circuit. But we found that the one with best success is the Lamosho, which is over 95% success rate on our trips. And then you look at the success rate for some of the shorter routes, like 5 days, like the Morangi, you've heard of the Coca-Cola route, they're around 50%. So it's very different, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think the thing is with the Northern Circuit as well, it's more of like an add-on to the Lamosho, in my opinion. But you have to balance the time to acclimatize with the fatigue of actually climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
So sometimes, if you took like 15 days to summit Kili, you'd probably be absolutely exhausted from 15 days trekking.
Yeah.
So it's about getting the perfect amount of acclimatization whilst keeping you as fresh as possible and not working you as hard. I think the Lamosho does that. It's great.
Yeah.
And you get to start off in the jungle as well. So we saw monkeys and all sorts of stuff like that in the trees when we did it. It was great.
That's a good point, actually, because in the Lamosho, it is quite different, isn't it? You do start, and on Kili, there are like 4 or 5 different zones. Excuse me. And the first one, obviously, you start in the jungle.
Yeah.
Which is, you're thinking, I'm going to climb a mountain here. What am I doing in the jungle? But that's where it starts, because it starts about 2,700 meters is your kind of first camp, big tree camp. And then as you get higher, then you get it's like barren wasteland. You've got some like shrubland, which is essentially called Shira Plateau, which is essentially your second and third day's night sleeping on the mountain is on the Shira Plateau. And as you get higher up, then you'll see it become more kind of rocky, more arid, not much plant life. And then as you get really high, then it starts to become more glacial. So yeah, it's quite a lot of distinct zones, isn't it? It's a bit nuts how it transitions through those zones.
It's good because a lot of the time when you're climbing any sort of high altitude peak, the peak kind of looks the same. You're thinking of like it's going to be in the Himalaya and it's going to be snow, from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So its features are relatively uniform from top to bottom. Where Kilimanjaro isn't really like that. It's where it's situated, the size of it, it's different, like cultivated. There's a cultivated zone, jungle zone, bush, and then glacial, and it has its own microclimate around Kilimanjaro. So it's all very, interesting. I think as far as the peaks go, there's something changes every day. You don't. It's the only peak I think I've ever done where I've got a sense more that I'm sort of trekking a journey than just climbing a mountain.
It's quite different that way, isn't it? And I know a lot of our trips are journeys as such. Obviously, we've got our peaks. We've got Achilles. We got our Aconcagua. We got our Toubkals. We got other peaks like Mara Peak and Island Peak in Nepal. We've got our peaks, but a lot of the trekking journeys are more adventures, aren't they? They're kind of journeying through a landscape, essentially.
Yeah. You take EBC, for instance, so Everest Base Camp is really just a convenient excuse to trek for 11 days through the Himalaya.
Yeah.
We're gaining altitude the whole time, but you do have a sense that you're just on an adventure. You're not really starting at the bottom of something and working your way to the top of something.
Yeah.
Kili's very different. Kili's a true, unadulterated, high altitude summit.
Yeah. Unadulterated, love it.
I it's underestimated as well.
And
I think so.
And sometimes we get that feedback. We've had people who have done things like Everest Base Camp, Tour de Mont Blanc, Machu Picchu, and then go to Kili. Some of them do find it easier than other trips. Some of them are like, wow, that was absolutely a beast. And in complete transparency, we do get a lot of different levels of fitness, and altitude's a leveler like that. Like it's you could be ultra marathon runner, you could be probably not quite get off the couch and roll onto Kili kind of style, but you don't have to be that fit, and you'd be okay at altitude because that's the leveler. The difference on Kili really is that the fitter you are, you're just giving yourself the best chance because you're going to be knackered every day. Other than summit night, it's a bit of a battle, but summit night is the actual beast.
Yeah,
where you're essentially going up to almost 6,000 meters. You got 8-9 hours of literally walking in the dark before you get to the summit ridge, and it's a toughie summit night, isn't it? It's definitely fun.
100%. And I think with the fitter you are, I think the less likely you are to get altitude sickness.
Yeah.
But also on summit night, if you have that fitness reserve to rely on, you will be less fatigued. We're all going to be the same level of tiredness, and we're all going to be, experiencing the same altitude. But the fittest people that have done things right, because it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
But if you've trekked slow, you've drank plenty of water, and you've acclimatized well, and you're really fit, most people get to the summit then without too much, pain. Yeah. Where if you are really on the verge of being unfit, perhaps, and I'm not saying you have to be a marathon runner. That fit person, by the way, isn't like an Ironman triathlete. They're just people that have put in a few hours over a few months to get themselves a little bit more resilient.
Yeah.
If you rolled off the sofa and you've just started Kilimanjaro, you're 100% you can reach the top.
Yeah.
But you're going to be saying things like, "Oh my God, that was a battle. That absolutely wiped me out. I'm a dead man. Oh my God," versus the people that kind of do a little bit, they'll be like, "It's pretty good. That was, no, it was tough, but I did it." And
exactly.
Wherever possible, we want to be in the second group.
It's a good point. And look, just while there's so many people commenting, thank you so much as well. Do drop some your questions in the comments. So after we do the winner announcement, which will be in about kind of 15-20 minutes time, we'll then jump on some questions. Hopefully we can get all your questions answered, because obviously of 15,000 people that enter, obviously there's only one winner, but I'm sure anyone that's interested in tackling Kili or any of our trips, any trips out there at all, we're happy to answer the questions. And we're here every week as well. If you've just joined in, welcome. We know there's a lot of sort of Tuesday tune-in veterans who have been here for the last 3 or 4 years. But to any newbies, we do this every week at 12:30 on a Tuesday in the UK, and here to answer any of your questions. So do drop them in. Just there was one question actually, which I know I don't want to do. I think it was more of a comment. I think it was Steph Potter. It was so I would really like to win this to celebrate my 40th birthday. Happy birthday when it comes around. It's mine in November. There's a huge bucket list, but also to prove my husband wrong. Happy to prove him wrong. Exactly. Well, regardless, Steph, prove him wrong. Get out there and do it, mate. 100%.
He doesn't think you can do it. Let me tell you that he's made a mistake there, Steph. To be
That's
fair.
it.
Yeah, he's stood in something.
That's called motivation now, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's lit a fire under your ass now. So now it's like the top or bust, But
Exactly.
But also like I said, it's one of those peaks that's underestimated. It's over and underestimated depending on how you've sort of become aware of Kilimanjaro. There are some people that watch all the charity stuff. I think Chris Moyles years ago went up there for Red Nose Day and Comic Relief, I think. And then you have this tendency to think, oh, well, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, that it looked easy. And then there are other people that, you know, think of it as like, oh my God, I can never do that. You know, that, oh my God, it's huge. You know, what am I going to do? It's 8 days, 7 just to get to the top. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's not the world's hardest mountain to climb. It is very, very achievable. But your odds of getting to the top and back down and feeling fantastic go up significantly the more training you do. But again, I'm not saying go out and run 10 miles every day. You don't have to train like Rocky, you know,
but you could
in a frozen meat van punching, you know,
that's funny.
Cow carcasses. You just have to get out with a rucksack, do some hiking, put some strength and endurance in your legs, get your lungs and heart used to working a bit. And that can be done over a couple of months. And the difference it makes is phenomenal.
Exactly. And Dave, just going back to Kili, obviously we both summited. I know it was a few years ago now, but talking about something we always, especially when we're doing these winner announcements, we like to talk about some of our highlights. So with Kili then, what was your number one special moment? What was a highlight for you?
It's hard because every day is a little bit different. You'll experience something a little different every day. Now, I'm going to not mention the summit because that's obvious. Actually,
That was nice.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Reaching the summit, there's a picture where we had the sunrise on Kilimanjaro. In fact, I see the picture up on the wall by there. Where you look back and you see the sunrise on it. It was beautiful and it was a really emotional moment. But actually, whenever I think about Kili, one of the first things that comes back to my mind is the day we do Barranco Wall.
Yeah, that was a good day. That was a good day.
The reason why I like it is because climbing Kili is a little bit different to any other sort of adventure. And on Barranco Wall, that difference really showed in a good way. I think the Tanzanians are sort of like happy-go-lucky, bombastic. They're singing all the time. You know, some of them are playing music and whatnot. And you climb Barranco Wall, and it was a day I was really looking forward to because I felt like Frodo in Lord of the Rings climbing up this big black wall. It was amazing.
Brilliant.
But when you get to the top, you're on this big plateau. And when you look out, it's like you're looking out of an airplane window. It's just a plateau, a dead end, and just sky.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And it was beautiful. And when we got there, the team normally, you know, they get some snacks and some drinks, and they're waiting for you. And when I arrived, our guide was playing that Little Richard song, Lucille. And
amazing.
I don't know why, but it was the most rock and roll thing I've ever done. You know, I was on top of a mountain, looking out at the sky at altitude, listening to Lucille, and I was just like, this is one of those. That's one of those mental. So for me, that was a highlight.
That was for you, that one.
Yeah, that was for me. That was like I was like that was a. Yeah, I was lying down, just eating some snacks, looking at the sky, listening to some rock, and I was just like, yeah, this is class.
Nice.
What about you? What was yours?
It'd be cliche now. No, I suppose there's a few. You know, I quite enjoyed it. I'll get onto the mountain. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use a couple of different moments.
Yeah.
Quite enjoyed the before aspect, just exploring Moshi before we went up there. I think Tanzania, luckily I'd been to Tanzania many times, and the people are just so welcoming, so friendly, and it's such a beautiful country. It's a very poor country. So you get to walk around and just chat with people and, you know, support them in many ways, really, just by being there. But no, I think then on the mountain, I think for me that the kind of group dynamic as we went up, you know, there's a lot of banter in the camp.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you get people that don't really know each other first on, and then a couple of days in, they're like best mates.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the summit, I know I'm using the summit again.
No, yeah. You can use it. That's why I left it for you.
I'm glad you left it. There's something about getting to the summit with people that, you know, you've shared pain with and almost trauma, because by that time you've been through an absolute battle. And then when you get to the summit, it's a lot of emotion, a lot of high five, a lot of hugs, some whiskey being passed around. It was, that's got to be it.
Yeah, well, we had some pretty, some of the most sort of entertaining games of Uno I've ever had.
We did.
Have been
It's
in that
harder,
tent.
actually.
And I remember one of the guys wasn't playing. It was actually Brooke. She went out for a walk around the camp, and she said you could hear our camp from miles around, like when someone puts a +2 down, and you're like, oh my god, beep 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 beep. Lots of like
aggressive playing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it was
competitive
quality.
nature.
Yeah, it was really good fun. I really loved Kili. I genuinely, it was one of those where there was a lot of experiences that it took me a little while to sort of process.
Yeah.
Like you've got the summit, you've got that time on Barranco, the celebrating at the end. The summit night in itself, it's about 10 different experiences
Well, it
all
feels
in
about
one.
2 days.
It's mad
because of when it starts and when it finishes.
It's pretty much 6 hours up to the
Yeah.
summit, 6 hours back to the camp. So you're trekking for 12 hours.
Yeah, at least.
And a lot of the time you can trek at night, and you can trek for a long time, and you can trek at altitude, and you can trek sleep deprived. But very few times does it all converge into one. And usually that happens on a big high altitude peak as well. So you've got also the X factor of the mountain and the altitude, the acceleration, the nervousness.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Adds, doesn't it? All adds.
I love it. And the only thing I just say to anyone who is about to summit Kili, there will be times on that summit on the summit push where you think, oh my God, I can't do this. This is horrendous. And the only thing I tell myself is just one day.
Yeah.
Just one day. That's all it was. It's just a hard day.
Just a tough day.
Just a hard day with a big reward.
Yeah, exactly. I think Deborah there, I've never climbed Kili, did the London Marathon. Mate, that's fair
pretty
dues.
epic. I'd say
especially if
you're
you're doing 13 hours. I've not done a marathon, done a couple of half marathons, but yeah, fair dues. If you can do that, you're certainly on track to smashing it.
13 hours.
I know. That's
fair play. Do you know what though? That's the type of mental fortitude you need to climb mountains, because someone that could finish a marathon in under 2.5 hours. I met someone the other day that did it in 2 hours 30.
I know, it's mental, eh?
Unbelievable.
I'm like, it's a little bit quick for me.
There's don't get me wrong, I'm not disparaging that. The effort and the hard work that goes into getting yourself into that position takes years of dedication. But the mental fortitude to be able to keep chipping away at something for 13 hours,
it's a battle.
That's a different type of strength, And
fair dues.
100% fair dues, Debo.
That's massive. Some really good questions coming in as well. Definitely keep posting them. We'll get to them. We got some of our other Yetis in the office there. They'll basically get in. I think Jodie's on the comments today. We've got them here ready to answer, which we'll do after the winner announcement, which is probably about 7 minutes away. We're on countdown. So thank you so much. Yeah. So with Kili then, so we've talked about the highlights. What was the hardest thing then about Kili, you think? What did you find? What did you like? Oh man, you come away from it, you think back. What was the toughest thing about Kili?
I have two thoughts on it. I think I have my personal thought, and then I also have what I think would be tough for most people if they haven't done any high altitude trekking and then they choose Kili. Yeah, I think there are a few things that it would be good to get practice at. Yeah, I think for me the hardest bit was probably I actually think it was the descent. I think for me physically,
it was a beast, wasn't it?
It was quite tough. Once you reach the top, there is no more up for the rest of your journey. It's all down. And it's a long down. So often in the UK when we're training, we tend to take a long time going up a mountain, but it's very quick to get down because our mountains aren't that big. But it's a long time to get down from Kili. And I think if you're like me and you're not terribly fond of the descents, mentally that can be quite challenging because you want it to be over, but it's not going to be for some hours. So you really have to kind of dig deep, find some inner positivity, remember why you did it, think about what you just done, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I think for most people, to be honest, if you haven't done any high altitude trekking and you think Kili's going to be the one for you to start on, it's probably going to be an overall sort of fatigue of camping, early mornings, and then culminate.
So that mental challenge over like several days.
It's the fact that it takes eight days to get to the summit. And over the course of those days, obviously it's building and you're getting more excited, but at the same time you're sort of living in a tent and I think it's great.
Awesome about that though as well.
I love it. I think it's great, but I think if you've never done it before, so if you've never done multiple days in a tent before whilst hiking, you're in for a surprise.
A good surprise.
My one recommendation, I think, for most people would be just do a night hike, a long night hike. Get used to the idea and train yourself so it's familiar of doing at least one. But so where you stay up all day, start hiking at 10, and don't get back till 6 in the morning. Obviously, you can do it safely and get a guide if you need to or whatever, but do one of those night hikes.
It makes a difference, doesn't it? Because I know in our video, Elaine, lovely lady from Scotland. Luckily, I trekked with her to Everest Base Camp about 7 years ago almost now. And such a lovely, lovely person. But she commented, and we did a little bit of an interview afterwards, that trekking at night was I'm trekking the day, I'm fine the day, altitude, but I haven't trekked at night before like that. So that was a big challenge for her. So I think you're right, Dave, doing that before you get out there. Head torch on, get your day pack on, should be called night pack really, out at night, get and do a hike that you'd normally do during the day. Obviously if you're confident in navigation and all the stuff that comes with it, absolutely fantastic way of preparing for Kili, definitely.
100%. I think it makes a big difference as well, because when you're trekking at night, it's a completely different atmosphere. Like your world is a lot smaller. You've got this little cone of light from your head torch that's your world, and a lot of people retreat into themselves. And but I think the more you do it, the more it'll become natural.
You haven't got to think about it.
I was very lucky. I used to work on the railways doing construction a while back.
Okay, yeah, nice.
And the railway industry runs on night shifts. So I remember the first time I did a night shift on the railway, I was like broken. But actually, after 3 years of doing nights,
you went off the rails.
I went off the rails.
But I had to get that in, Dave.
But you don't have to do. I'm not suggesting you go and join the railway for 3 years.
No, you don't need to do that.
Just a couple of night hikes, and it'll mean that it's not a new experience. It's not a new sort of thing to get overwhelmed by. It's just something you've practiced at.
Exactly. Some really good questions as well, just around Everest Base Camp, and keep them coming. We'll definitely answer those. I know Annie there mentioned around physical and mental prep, stuff like that. Which we will come into that, Annie. Thanks for and Stuart, hi all, such a great chat, very informative. Thanks, Stuart. Yeah, we're here every week, or most weeks. That we are. I think we're up to almost about 200 episodes of this. I think this is like 195, so we're not far from
200 hours doing this.
It's crazy.
Imagine if I spent that time in the gym.
Well, you could do Kili again.
Imagine if every Tuesday I just spent an hour in the gym. But that's a selfish way. I'm here for these guys. You guys, you're the real heroes. But no, it is amazing when you think how long this Tuesday Tunis was going on.
It is. It's great though, and hopefully you find it useful. And we know a lot of the Evertrek community kind of come back, and even if you've been on a trip, you like to impart some of your own experience too, because a big part of community is that, like, you can hear it from us, but also from the community that go out there and do Everest Base Camp, do the Tour de Mont Blanc, do a Machu Picchu, doing Kili. And then they can, we're at different, you get people who are different levels of the journey. Some people that are at day one, haven't been to altitude before, haven't done a trek. And you've got people who have done 3 or 4, and they'll be like, look, actually, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? This worked. Actually, I made this mistake on the first one, but I do this now. All that stuff I think is great from a community sense.
I'm thinking, and
I know what you're thinking.
They're chomping at the bit a little bit.
I know. I feel like I'm going to get attacked if I don't.
I feel like the energy. I'm reading the crowd now, so I'm on the stage and I'm reading the crowd, and they come on, mate.
Okay.
Play that single. We want to hear. We want to hear the banger.
Okay. We'll let's get it done. So the aim is to call the person. Now, before we do this, just to let you know, obviously, and thank you to everyone that has entered. Oh, Dave's going to get it.
I'm sacking it off.
I know he's had enough today.
I'm getting the
He's being strategic with what's there.
No expense spent on the winner announcement technology.
Mate, a whiteboard is a good way. I mean, it's it's reusable.
It is reusable. You know what I wondered, when I hold it up, is it going to read the right way?
Hopefully. I mean, Everest is, and our t-shirts look fine.
Valid point.
So hopefully you want a winner there.
Valid point. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to call the winner, but just to say, obviously, thanks to everyone who entered. There will be some runner-up prizes as well. So we, to anyone, there's 15,000 people that entered. 14,999 people might get. There are some runner-up prizes out there. So do keep an eye on your emails after this. And of course, if you've enjoyed kind of listening to all of our kind of stories about Kilimanjaro, obviously we sent walkthroughs of the trip. You may have listened to some of our podcasts. If you enjoy Kili, we'd love to obviously help you on that journey. So drop ourselves a message. I'll reach out to one of the team just from the chat on the website, or you can just reach out to us on socials. And we'd love to help you on that journey anyway. Whichever, if you're day one, if you're a day 301, we want to help in some way. Right, Dave, should we do it? I've got the number here. I feel like we need just maybe like an envelope with a tear it open, but like anyway, we've got the number.
So you're gonna bring it. This is always the hardest bit for me, is like to know when to lift this reveal to everyone.
I think let's just call first, and we'll try and bring it. I'll put on a loudspeaker so it's live, so everything goes right on the live, right?
Okay.
We'll call.
Yeah.
And as the person answers,
then I'll reveal.
We will reveal.
It's mad that we never have that discussion before. We always have it now, and I always think
just so everyone's involved in our decision process.
Like I said, we never let professionalism get in the way of an entertaining show.
Right, there's a lot of sixes in this number, so if you can't have a lot of sixes in your mobile,
and that's a big. Everyone's just gone sack. I haven't got.
Okay, I think we're right. Right, so we're going to call this person. Let's have a look, and I'll put it on loudspeaker. Hopefully. Would you like to do the honors?
No, you do it.
You sure?
Yeah, no, I can't talk and lift up.
Okay. It's ringing.
Just make sure.
Will it go to voicemail? Oh.
Yes, please.
Hello, is that Evie?
Yeah, it's Evie.
Hi Evie, it's Andy here from Evertrek. You're just live on the Tuesday tune-in. How's it going?
Oh, brilliant.
Why do you think we're calling, Evie? What's going on?
Sorry?
Why do you think we're calling? What's going on?
Is it me then?
Yeah, just wanted to say well done. You are the winner of the Kilimanjaro competition. So you're going to kill it.
My God, guys. I was just driving my partner to work. So
sorry.
And as I just parked the car, you're calling.
Oh, no problem. Well, look, if you're driving, look, congratulations. We'll be in touch after the live anyway, just to discuss kind of next steps. But just want to say a huge congratulations. I mean, how are you feeling?
I don't have any words. I'm shaking right now. So excited. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Congratulations. Evie, take care. And
We'll
drive safe.
Drive safe. Yes, we'll speak to you soon.
See you soon.
See you, mate. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome.
They answered.
Finally, someone answered.
I was a bit worried for a second. I was a bit worried.
No, great stuff. Lovely Evie, and I'm sure you never know, she might take a partner. But yeah, congratulations to Evie.
Yeah. He's getting dropped off now. Like, what? So you're going to Kilimanjaro? When?
That's it.
When's that happening?
What's going on?
Yeah, amazing.
Fantastic. Well, look, obviously to everyone else, like I said, there will be some runner-up prizes, so do keep an eye on your inbox over the next kind of few hours. Anyway, I want to answer some questions. We've got loads of questions, Dave.
We have got loads of questions. Can I just point out?
Yes.
It's 45 degrees Celsius.
It is hot. You can see I've got a really kind of base layers.
I don't know if any of the team are listening, but if any of them could bring me a fan, I feel like a bit of a diva.
I see there's some activity,
but I don't want to get up myself because I'm committed.
I think Jody is maybe stirring to look at getting you a fan. We'll see if Dave has got a fan in this world.
Yeah.
There might be one next door, but yeah, Dave is.
We're in a bit of a greenhouse in here,
up.
and it's heating up, and that emotion there just kind of got me.
Well, whilst we're waiting for a fan or not, let's see if we got some questions.
100%.
Annie mentioned a good one there. Here we go.
Absolute legend, Jodes.
Look at this.
Do you want to say hello to your audience? Just the hand, is it? That's all we get. Just Jody's hand. Thank you so much.
Here we go. So just some questions then. Annie, what physical and mental preparations were essential for successfully trekking Mount Kilimanjaro? Do they impact the overall experience? So essentially, talk about the physical stuff first. Training, massively.
Do you think the mic's picking that up?
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
As long as you're cool, man.
Yeah.
You might be able to hear Dave's fan. Just keeping him nice and cool. But yeah, with the physical stuff, obviously, the more you do, the easier it will be. So I highly recommend that you put, whatever you can into your training. Just getting out there, pack on your back. You don't need any technical skills to actually climb and walk up Kilimanjaro. It is just walking. There is some scrambling involved around Barranco Wall. Dave said earlier about one of his favorite parts. But you don't need any climbing skills per se to do that. Yeah. It is more of the walking. So the more walking you do, the kind of the more you're going to enjoy it, essentially. Mentally, to mentally prepare for something is, I suppose there's so many bits to go through. I always think personally, remember why you're doing it. Maybe you're doing it for charity, maybe the personal challenge, maybe, you go in there with a friend or whatever it is. Maybe it's on your bucket list. Remember that, because when there comes the moment where you're struggling, you got to dig deep and okay, I'm actually doing this for a reason. That might give you that extra motivation. So the mental stuff, just go and enjoy it as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
These are amazing, life-changing trips, Get out there, enjoy it, try and have the best time, try and keep as positive as you can, and take on the challenge.
Yep. Celia Hill asked, do you get altitude sickness while swimming up Kilimanjaro? It's certainly possible.
Can do, yeah.
And certainly some people do. Yeah. Altitude sickness is a little bit of a tricky one to kind of give any certainty on, because it doesn't affect everybody the same, and it doesn't affect one person the same every time. So I think do as much physical preparation as you can, because certainly being fit helps. It is true that it doesn't matter how fit you are, you can still get it. But it's also true that the fitter you are, the less likely it is, because you won't be exerting yourself as much. You'll be having better recovery, better sleep. Yeah. Drink water, walk slow, listen to your guides, and that should be enough to acclimatize you to the point where you don't get altitude sickness. You will get some symptoms. Everybody does. A headache is totally common. A little bit of nausea, sometimes a little bit of dizziness. Most of this is like to do with the air pressure or just exertion and air pressure and a little bit of altitude. It doesn't necessarily mean that we immediately have to turn back down.
Exactly.
And if something does happen and you have to turn around, our guides is genuinely the best in the business.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who really do help when it comes to managing altitude. They're the ones that get everybody to the top safely and back down.
Exactly. And really good answer, Dave. I think it was, scroll up a little bit. I think it was James as well who asked a similar question to the one Annie asked as well. So I hope that answered your question there, just on the mental preparation stuff. Yeah. This one's good, actually. This is from Kyle. I'll bring it in as well. What's the youngest and oldest person you've had adventure with you up on Kilimanjaro? So yeah, we've had, I think it was 14 or 15 who summited Kili with us, and also as people into their late 60s. So yeah, broad spectrum. Essentially age is not a barrier. Obviously, you've got to be over 18 to go on your own, but we've had people who trekked with us on Kilimanjaro younger than that. Obviously, you'd have to go with an adult. But yeah, in terms of age, we get a lot of people who kind of 50s, 60s. We've had people in the mid 70s on Everest Base Camp, just to give you an idea. As long as you're fit and as long as you can, get out there and want to do it, it's going to be a great journey for you. So it's not like we obviously, regarding the lower end, we got some rules, but regarding the top end, no problem.
Yeah. Let's have a quick look. So Alison Morgan, help with a new Garmin watch with a good battery life. Recommendations would be appreciated, please. Oh, I've just bought one.
Dave, tech. You like?
I love my tech. So me and Andy actually have got Garmin's, but we've gone for different ones. I've gone for the Epix. The Epix X1, and it's the reason why I went for it is because it's got like the AMOLED screen, so it's quite bright. Andy's got the Phoenix, which is awesome. Which is a solar model. Is your screen broke? It's not quite bright there. But
just because it's not as bright as yours.
But these ones, so my battery lasts about 22 days. If you're using it every day, it'll last a lot less than that. Andy's is probably a bit longer than that, and it's also got a little bit of a solar boost. So I would say if battery life is your main concern and you want to make it last as long as possible, Andy's one, the Phoenix, is the one I would go for. And then there's loads of different variations. Like the Solar Phoenix is certainly probably the top of the range one, but it's also going to have the best battery. Or if for me you want a balance of like a bright screen and a decent battery, then the Epix is fine. I like the Epix.
They're good models, aren't they? They're definitely high end. They do chew the electricity though. Like if we're talking about battery life, that would probably not last as this, would you say?
Well, no. I mean, from a full battery, say I charged it, and then I didn't, because obviously when you use it as a tracking device, it'll reduce the battery a lot. But say this has got, I think, 23 days or something like that.
Yeah.
Of just standard watch use. Yeah. Whereas if I'm using it as for tracking, like biking, hiking, multiple day hikes, say I was doing Kili and I had this with me and I wanted to track every day, I'd probably have to charge it at least once on the trip to make it happen. Where this is the thing, see, Andy's one, it will last longer, but you probably still have to charge it. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Well,
like,
I'm always like, Dave, have you got a spare charger?
yeah. So like, say 8 days on Kili, mine will probably need charging at like day 4 or 5, where Andy's might get to day 6 or 7.
So it still needs charging.
So it still needs charging. It's just about what you like about it. The Garmin one I really like. I mean, this is a bit of a tech one, but it's got it's like a a health monitor as well. So it's got things like your sleep, O2 levels, which isn't 100% accurate. It's not as accurate as the finger one, but it gives you a ballpark.
Yeah, exactly. Someone asked as well, how do I book on the same trip? I think that was Jane. Yeah, definitely reach out to us. We can get you on that on the same trip. No problem at all, obviously, on Kilimanjaro. And just let everyone know as well, like over half of everyone that books onto Kili does so on their own. We do get some groups, sort of partners, friends, but we get a lot of people who just book on their own. And you're never on your own. You're with a group. All of our trips are group trips, unless we do private trips. And that's part of it. You meet people and you make friends for life. We've had people just come back from doing Kilimanjaro who actually met on the Everest Base Camp trip. So they all went over and did Kili. And then they went off to Zanzibar, had a bit of a party afterwards. Yeah, as you do to celebrate summit. So which is great because that kind of happens. I'm sure they'll do other trips. That's one of the great things I think about going on these group trips, and especially as a solo person and meeting other people as well. It's pretty special. Yeah, no, it is. It's one of the aspects that's really enjoyable. You meet a load of people and you're like, oh, who are they? Are they on my group? And then by the end of it, you're like, "Ray!"
I
say it only takes one person to say a little naughty joke and everyone's friends.
Exactly.
Break the ice. Dave, got this one.
Yep.
When would you consider the best time of year to visit or climb Kili?
Whenever you can get the time off work. So yeah, I mean, the best time, generally, that wasn't meant to be facetious. The best time is whatever works for you. I wouldn't not go because someone said that a month that I couldn't do is the best time. It's all a little bit subjective. It depends on what you're after. So, you can do it through the July, August months. You can do it towards the end of the year. Really, the only time we don't do it is sort of May. Yeah. Because that's when you get it's a lot of rain, so you don't get any views. It's muddy and wet. I personally think sort of February is the best time.
It's a good time, isn't it?
Because it's not quite as busy as the summer months. It's colder. Not saying it's going to be freezing, but it's definitely a lot cooler. And the summit is going to be colder, and it's going to have more. The glacier is going to be a little bit more in bloom. The glacier's bloom. So that's my.
Glacier's bloom.
I personally think that'd be the best. And also, it's a nice little kick off the year with a summit.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, any time you go is good, as Dave said. There are obviously people going out there to summit Kili and to try, but there are other times of the year to do other stuff as well. So a lot of people do a safari afterwards, which you can do with us. You can book on after it, or some people like to go down to Zanzibar and just chill at the beach for 4 or 5 days. And the best, just going back to the safari bit, the best is kind of later in the year, if you like. So essentially, when they got dry season and the kind of foliage is low down, it means you see more animals essentially if you're going on safari. So something to think about. If you are going kind of so you got May to kind of September is a really good time to go essentially. And we do a lot of treks at that time as well.
Bhavna's asked a question about Everest Base Camp.
Yeah, sure.
Old school.
Love it, Bhavna.
Again, for EBC, the duffel bag weight is 15 kg and your day bag is max 10. Okay. Does the day bag also get weighed at Lukla? I'm due to go in a few weeks. Yeah. So I'm going to disappoint you right now, but it's 15k combined.
Yes.
So not 25k combined. 15 kilograms is your duffel bag and your day bag. Yeah. They both get weighed at Lukla. If they are over, it really depends. We would recommend get as close to 15 kilograms as you can, because if it is over, sometimes they might charge you a few quid. But if a lot of people are over, then the heaviest bags get taken off, and they don't necessarily warn you. So you'll arrive at Lukla, where's my bag? It's not there, and you've got to it's got to come on another plane then, and it's logistically just a ball ache. So I would say do your best to stick to it. There are a few hints and tips I can give you. So your day bag, when it's being weighed, it doesn't have to have anything in it. You can just wear your extra jacket, put your battery pack in there, put your camera around your neck,
exactly,
that type of thing, and then redistribute some of the stuff when you get to Lukla. So it's 15k combined,
which is safe as well. I mean, I know they do because they don't necessarily weigh you; they just weigh the bags. It's purely a control aspect to it. Obviously, they do make a little bit of money off the back of it as well. You can't get around that with these airlines. But ultimately, if you put some of the heavy stuff on you, you don't weigh you, and then you can find that balance. Obviously, as well, then the reason why it's keeping like that as well is that because we use porters, we like to give them, we don't want to make it too heavy. And, it does. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, 15 kgs including both. You're like, geez, how can we do that? And I hear you. I'm, the first couple of times I did Everest Base Camp, I struggled to get it under 15 kgs because, you've got your sleeping bag, you've got your boots. Over time you learn, actually, I'm going to wear those heavy boots. And like Dave said, put that jacket on, put that battery pack down here, and there goes 3 or 4 kgs. But over time you realize you don't actually use all of the stuff that you got in there. It's typical. And I know that's hard to guess because maybe you haven't done it before, especially you're on the trails for 11 days. You're thinking, okay, well, what do I put in there? And definitely reach out to some of our community. They might say, okay, I recommend, especially from lady, using this amount of, underwear, this amount of kind of base layers, this amount of, this number of, mid-layer jumpers. If you've got like 3 mid layers, you're thinking, well, maybe I'll just take 1, maybe 2, because you'll be wearing that kind of in between if it gets cold, maybe in the evening. And you'll find you'll wear kind of 80% of the time, you wear 20% of what you've got on your back. So then there's quite a lot that you end up not using. It always happens. You never know until you use it, of course.
Yeah. And also, you don't need to load up on all the snacks you need for the whole trip. You'd be surprised if they take a few kilos.
Yeah.
All the snacks and stuff. You can get that sort of stuff when you've landed at Lukla.
Yeah. Gareth asked that, obviously, about Kili. How many miles a day is a trek? Yeah, it's when we're at altitude, especially on somewhere like Kili, because I know something we found with previous conversations we've had about training weekends on treks. When you say, okay, it's going to be 5 miles today, some people think, oh, that's easy. So, but actually, those 5 miles could take 8-9 hours. So we actually talk about time rather than distance when it's on Kili. Just because it's not, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're at altitude, you're going a lot slower, and it can take a lot longer. It could be steep. So yeah, in terms of time, your average hike is, I'd say, between 6 to 8 hours a day. On some of the easy days, a bit shorter. On summit night, it's almost double that in turn. As Dave said, it's kind of 12 to 14 hours up to the summit and back. It is a bit of a beast, but it's very slow. You're climatizing, hence the reason why, and obviously we do have the day by days if you want to really see it, but actually the time is kind of the best way to approach it from what we found at altitude. Yeah. And what's worked for our Evertrekkers, Gareth. But yeah, good question, mate. It obviously brings the discussion around it, and we get that a lot. We get asked that a lot. So yeah, good question, mate.
Olivia Tyburska said, how much harder would you say it is in the 3 Peaks Challenge? Interesting question.
Good question.
I actually think you probably couldn't compare the two, but I will say that the Kili's 8 days of exercise every single day. The 3 Peaks Challenge is 24 hours of savagery. I would say that the 3 Peaks Challenge is probably a really, really good training. Not training because it's a challenge in its own right. But if you were going to do Kili and you wanted to do the 3 Peaks Challenge in the UK, that will put you in a really good place for understanding what summit night is like. Because although the summit is only 12 hours up and down, you are going to be awake for probably over 24 hours. Yeah, definitely. So it does kind of give you that tiredness, that fatigue, climbing whilst fatigued. So I think the 3 Peaks and the Killit Summit Day all together are probably a bit similar. Personally, how hard are they? I think it's like apples and oranges a little bit. Personally, I'd rather do Kili. I've never found the appeal of the 3 Peaks Challenge. I don't like timed events.
Just knowing a lot of Evertrekkers that have done both. They tend to do the 3 Peaks Challenge before, just because Kili's more of an expedition. The 3 Peaks Challenge is done with 24, 40 hours, quite quick. So very different. But if you can do the 3 Peaks Challenge, it's a really good sign that you're going to do well on Kili, just from the physical aspect of having the fitness levels to do that in a short period of time, and the lack of sleep if you're doing it, within the 24 hours that with the driving and everything. It's really good part of training. We know. One of our good friends, Spud, did it just before he did Everest Base Camp and found that to be good training. We know a lot of Evertrekkers have done the same. So, but Dave's right; they are very different because one's at altitude, when one is at sea level. Okay, I know you're going up to say Ben Nevis, which is just above 1,300 meters, but altitude doesn't really come into it. where it's more the physical aspect and the tiredness and fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having done some of the peaks, yeah, it's definitely a beast. But go for it. It's brilliant training. You can do that before you do Kili. I think it's really good training, definitely. Katie asked as well, can I ask a question before I forget it? I've seen some posts on various Kili social media pages about daytime summits. Is that something you offer? So even though we start at night, we tend to get to the summit literally at sunrise, if not after. So you're always in daylight. So that's probably where you've seen them. I'd say it's quite hot during the day to be out kind of 8 hours, 9 hours, chugging through the day. I know 99% of people who take people up there don't do it during the day for that reason. It's a lot of sun exposure. Whereas, you know, in the night it's cooler. Obviously, sometimes a little bit cool. You know, we've been freezing on the way up and it is cold, but that has the best chance of a summit success. You know, especially when it's not as hot, you don't need as much water, so you don't need to carry that with you. So you've got, again, you're not carrying as much up to the summit. And the aim is to get to the summit and back as quick as possible in terms of, okay, you have, you know, half hour, an hour, whatever it is, depending on the group feeling on the summit. But doing it in the evening, as in hiking, so starting at like 11 p.m. and getting there by sunrise gives you the best chance of summit.
Yeah. Also, you don't want to run out of daylight on your descent. Most accidents happen when you're coming down the mountain because of fatigue, tiredness. Yeah. You're also, if you do trip on the way up, you tend to fall into it. On the way down, you'll fall away from it and tend to have more of a severe accident. So if you are really slow and you run at daylight hours and you're going down in the night, God, it would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I saw a good question then to ask Jim Syriac.
Yeah.
Jimbo. I'm climbing EBC in 4 weeks and I'm wondering what
Jim.
kind of exercise I need to do in the gym. If you're going to do in the gym, I would say
Gym in the gym.
Stairmaster.
Yeah.
100% get on that bad boy and just if only you did the Stairmaster and nothing else, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'd be also inclined to do some resistance training, sort of high rep till failure type deal. Just to particularly, it depends what you struggle with. For me, I would want to do lots of leg exercises and the Stairmaster, and then the other sort of stuff I would be doing is just sort of upper body, core, that type of thing. And I would be more interested in doing high reps till failure, that type of stuff, rather than just sort of, 1 rep max and things like that.
Exactly. Lots of comments as well from Evertrekkers going in the autumn. I bet you're really excited. I know it's not a million miles away. I think Bavner, you're going, especially this autumn, is going to be exciting, isn't it? But someone has done it before. Steph did EBC or Evertrek last October with Mark. Kept my fitness up. Currently swimming a mile in lake most days. Wow, that sounds cool.
Nice.
Think I'm finally over EBC, ready to go. Exactly, Steph. Get another adventure in, mate. It's always easier. Those day-to-day doing the stuff, it's always something to have a target, have a goal, look forward to. Bavner, I know you've asked about baggage and things like that. What are the weather conditions like over an EBC trek at the moment? Yeah, it hasn't been great, to be fair. Obviously, it's monsoon season at the moment. So June, July, and August are notoriously bad for rain.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we don't run any trips during monsoon season. And unfortunately, I don't know if anyone saw on the news, there was Tame, a little village in the Khumbu region, which is the Everest region. Now it's not on the classic trail; it's a little bit off. It's not a million miles away from Namche, and it's where actually a lot of kind of famous Sherpas have originated from. People like Appa Sherpa. You've got Tenzin Norgay Sherpa, who was with Sir Edmund Hillary, the first man, both first men to climb Everest in 1953. And that's Tame was where they are from. And there was essentially, as the glaciers recede, they leave kind of pools of water, big glacial lakes. And one of them actually went through the middle of the village. There's a lot of damage there. So maybe people have seen that in the news, but the rest of the Khumbu is fine. Just comments from our team over there that it's fine. It's just that Tame is, but essentially because the river kind of goes through the middle of the village and it bursts its banks and it started to chew up the ground. Unfortunately, about a third of the village is destroyed. So, really sad. There, the rest of the country, Nepal every year struggles with the monsoon.
Mm-hmm.
Notorious that monsoon just gives so much rain. And there's landslides. It's part of the landscape and the mountains, those things kind of happen when there's a lot of moisture, a lot of rain. So but it's kind of, in the years we've been running trips the last several years, you kind of see that every year, and it's mad. The Nepalese just get on with it. They're like, okay, we've had a landslide.
Yeah.
Next week they're kind of like, oh really? Oh, we're just moving on. It's mad how they're quite resilient people.
I know, it seems to be getting worse. You got to think that climate change is
Yeah.
probably having some effect on the
Agreed.
region. It's hard, regardless of what
Yeah.
your view is on it, it's hard to be skeptical of climate change if you look at the Khumbu Glacier,
Yeah.
and how that's been affected over the last few years. It's got to be wrapped up in it somehow. But it'll be fine when you go, but you don't want to trek now.
Exactly.
So a quick look. So Alex Donnelly, do we bring PJs or just sleep in our gear? Do you know what? Some people do bring some stuff to sleep in. To be honest, I tend just to sleep in, like, I don't bring anything specific for sleeping in, but usually I might just sleep in like a t-shirt or something like that. It depends. I think as the more trek goes on, the less likely people are to just bother getting changed. Like sometimes you do see people sleeping in their gear. I try not to, just because it's more comfortable to kind of just sleep in something comfortable. Honestly, there's no right or wrong answer. It's up to you whether you wanted to bring something comfortable to sleep in or whether you wanted to just sleep in some shorts and a t-shirt or your gear or whatever. It's up to you. Personally, I wouldn't wear my gear. I do tend to wear my gear to bed sort of before I go to the summit, just because I just want to get up and go. But most nights I'll just shorts and t-shirt, that type of thing.
Good question as well. I know I touched upon it, but Steve, do you offer any Zanzibar add-ons on the kiddie trips? Yeah, of course. Zanzibar is fantastic. I went there probably almost 18 years ago for the first time. Zanzibar is a great place. If you're ever into scuba diving, snorkeling, it's a wonderful place to do that. Also great just to have cocktails on the beach and relax. We've had a bunch of Evertrekkers who have just finished Kili, been out there the last kind of 4 or 5 days, have a cracking time. So yeah, we do. So when you book in, you can actually tag that on at the end. You just tick the box, and it's like, obviously it has the cost to it. And then what would happen is then that'll be at the end of your trip. So yeah, you can do that. Like we have safari add-ons as well. So with Tanzania, there's so many amazing things to do. Obviously, if you're going there to take on Kili, but flying all that way, and maybe you've got a little bit of leave, or you want a bit more time out there. There's so many amazing places. Like you can do a safari, you can go to the beach. Yes, fantastic country. Highly recommend it. Definitely.
Katie Whitney.
Yeah.
Popular topic at the minute. A friend asked me, do you have any concerns about Mpox?
Yeah.
I think as a travel company that survived COVID, anytime you hear about anything that pops up in the world, you kind of like raise an eyebrow to it. At this stage, we don't have any reason to kind of be overly dramatic and worried about it. We're in contact with all the countries and the teams that we operate in, and at the minute there's no serious cause for concern or anything like that. But it is something we take seriously. I guess worried about it. I mean, we're concerned about it in as much as we're keeping an eye on the situation, and we want to make sure that everything that we do is in line with any sort of advice and guidance and whatnot. But yeah, at the minute, travel's happening. The places are relatively safe. So yeah, all good to go.
Exactly. And you had a good point there that the official guidance, which we always kind of lean on, especially, during COVID when, in that March, we didn't know, we thought we'd be running trips by kind of May, and we rescheduled trips, and, we didn't run trips for the best part of 20 months. We usually kind of finger on the pulse with that stuff. And, we have had a few people kind of, reach out to us with concerns. So yeah, it's only natural. It's in the news, isn't it? We will kind of keep, again, close eye on the situation, and obviously all the companies and operators who are doing Kili, that everything's going ahead. The official guidance is that you can still travel there, and it's it's minimal risk. Obviously there's risk anywhere you go for anything. Obviously there's a lot of things in the world, but we're 100% still running the trips, and it's all fine there. But we will be keeping a close eye. Any kind of updates, we will be reaching out to anyone on our trips as well with that. Hope that kind of helps. But look, I know we've hopefully answered a lot of questions there. I know we bang on an hour. What we will do as well, we'll kind of go through, and if there are any we've missed, we'll try and comment back. If we haven't answered your question, I know there's a lot squeezed in an hour. Do reach out to us. Drop a message on the live chat on our website. Do drop a message right here on Facebook or Instagram or whatever watching this, you might be listening on the podcast, or you might be on YouTube. Just drop us a message, info@evertrek.co.uk as well, to our central inbox, and we can answer any questions you have. But yeah, no, it's been great. It's been
an awesome one. Yeah, congratulations to Evie on her way to Kilimanjaro.
exciting.
Yeah, and obviously, guys, any questions that you have, or any discussions that you want to have, we love to talk to our customers. It's not just this opportunity that you have every Tuesday; it's every day. So drop us a message, get in contact.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, anyone that's entered the competition, do keep an eye on your emails over the next kind of hour or so. There will be some runner-up prizes. If you are interested. So yeah, we'll basically be in touch. But yeah, we'll see you again, guys. Have an amazing week, whatever you're up to.
Yep. Started
the day raining, blue sky. Look at that.
It's a valid point.
Looks like the Simpsons sky out there now.
It does look like the Simpsons sky, to be fair. And I'm on my holidays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, have an amazing week, whatever you're up to. Stay safe, and we'll catch you again next time.